What's up guys, it's Sean from Window Tint Warriors, and today I'm going to show you how to tint the front doors bottom loading on a 2020 BMW X4 M competition. Let's get to it. So since we're going to be bottom loading, I'll clean the outside of the window first, but since we're going to be bottom loading, we're going to pop the panel on this, and I'm going to show you guys exactly how to do that. I'm also going to be using a pre-cut on this because if you guys have watched all my videos, I do the same hand cutting techniques on all. So if you want to learn how to hand cut, watch all the other hundreds of videos I have. I'm just going to really show you how to pop the panel on this and how to bottom load on it. As we all know, if you've ever taken a panel off on a BMW, they have those really weird resetting clips. This model and all the new models, I believe, do not have those anymore. Thank goodness. But this is very similar to the 5 Series, the new 5 Series grip right here, where you have to pull this off, and you have two T15 torque tips behind here, and there's also two T15 torque tips on the bottom as well. So we'll start off by removing this, since it is the hardest thing to remove, and it is a little tricky. So I like to use 2 gasket jamming sticks when I do this, and I'll take one and I'll go directly in the center. And if you look at the top, it's exactly like it is on the bottom. We're gonna go in between the seam here, but I'm gonna do it on the bottom side because it's a lot looser. And I'm gonna go right through the center and find a spot where I can come straight through. This is the easiest way to do this. You can go back and forth and try to wiggle it without going all the way through, but you'll probably be there all day, especially if this this piece of trim has never been taken off before. So we're gonna go ahead and shove that all the way through. And then we're gonna take our second gasket jamming tool and go right to the front side of it. Now there's a little piece right here that goes into the panel that holds the back in place, and the top pops away. But I've had success pulling from the back and the front, and it kind of just comes out as long as you apply pressure. So I'll twist the second one and just work my way. And if that other one falls out, you just stick it back in. This will keep the tension on it, not allowing the clips to reset in place. You could try to twist one or the other, but it is very tight. It does get a little bit aggravating. You could try to work a little bit lower. There we go. So what I've found based on doing these is it tends to release on the back a lot easier, even though there's that piece there behind the panel and the top is the one that pops out, but the bottom releases first before the piece that actually pulls out does. So once we get that bottom out, we can kind of just give it a yank, and you can see it pivots out, this piece comes out, and we have that away. So now all we have to do is remove the T15 torque tip here, and the 2 on the bottom. And the 2 on the bottom are extremely visible. There's one here, and there's one there, right on the sides of the light. All right, so once we have those 4 screws removed, the only other thing that we have to remove is the speaker bezel. So we're gonna roll the window down all the way, and we're gonna take one of the gasket sticks. And to remove these on any BMW, you always wanna start from the top half here where the speaker bezel meets the trim around the window, and you're just gonna push in with the gasket stick. That'll release the clips, and you just work your way all the way down. Now once that releases, you're gonna come from the other side, and to make it easy, you can just take the gasket stick, shove it in the little gap there, and then pull it away. Once it releases from the top here, it's pretty much free to go, and you can slide it forward and away. You want to keep the foam and the speaker in there and just let it hang. Now that we have that removed, all you have to do is pop the panel off and lift it up. So to make this a lot easier, gasket jam stick. Might as well start calling it a panel removal tool because it's pretty much what we use it for. Go in the front just to get a grip. Give it a twist. And to see what I did, I basically went in the front, pushed it, and twisted it. But it releases from the front a lot easier, so I do it there. Then we'll just work our way up. And you can see the clips that they use now are very standard in every single car. They're not the self-resetting ones anymore, which was a complete nightmare because anytime you try to take those resetting clips off and put them back on, they would just break. And you just have to replace all of them. And if you don't have them on hand, you're out of luck. So once we have the whole panel released from the clips, we're gonna lift up And one thing to be careful of that doesn't happen on many BMWs, but it does on this one, is the lock pin gets caught. For some reason they put extra support here. You can see the 2 rings, and I'll pull it out now. All I have to do is apply pressure to the metal of the lock pin and pull it down, and that'll release it from it. So you can see there's the 2 rings where this actual plastic gets caught on. So you just have to put pressure on it to release it from there, and you can let it just fall down. So once we get the panel away, be careful on the front. It wraps around the front like on any 5 Series, 7 Series. Hold the panel with the knee, pull the gasket out.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Wasn't talking to you. Pull the gasket out, and then we'll just put the panel back in place, hooking it on the front so it doesn't fall. And we'll line up some of the clips so that the panel stays in place. So that's all you have to do for the gasket removal. Now we're just going to tint the window really quick, and then we'll go over the reassembly. Notice how I don't hit the etching on the window, because if you hit that, you'll dull out the blade, and as you scrape the rest of the window, you could potentially scratch the glass because you dull the blade out on this etching. So if the window didn't have any tint on it previously, don't bother scraping over this because you'll just dull your blade out. Wipe that good with a towel and you'll be good to go. I like to do one squeegee before I even start tinting the window to remove any lint that could potentially get in the film. And anytime a BMW has this stitching here, you always want to keep that dry, because if the water gets into there, you could get swelling. It's never happened to me before, but I always take that extra measure just to be safe. Let's grab our pre-cut and get it installed. Do a light mist just to weigh it down. Put in 1 inch from the top. Now, if you were to hand cut, you would hand cut this with the window rolled up, do all of the techniques, and then you would be at this step right here prior to installation. Aligning your film up to the top edge, 1 inch from the top, squeegeeing any contamination from the top of the window film, wiping the top edge of the glass with your hand, and then we'll do our spray squeegee spray like we always do. Yellow Turbo is my favorite tool. Down the back, flush it out. And just to show you guys here where this water goes, it's dripping right out of the drain hole in the front, just like the rainwater would, so no worries. So we can go ahead and pull the release liner, spray it as we go, soak it up real good because it is hot, and let's get the bottom loading. Just like any other bottom load, I'm going to drop the front end first. Get that into place. Allow the back bottom to fall in place. Slide it down. Curl the top in so it doesn't hit the trim. And get our perfect alignment. I like to take my time getting that top alignment. The tighter it is, the better it looks. And this is moving around a lot, so what I'm going to do before I go and squeegee it so that it doesn't move is I'm just going to heat the top a little bit so it tacks and grips in place once I do that first squeegee. So squeegee the water off the outside of the glass so that the heat transfers through right away. And this, you only have to really do this if you put too much water, too much soap in your soapy water solution. You can even get away with not doing this and just adjusting it as you go. That's good. So once we get that first initial tack, we'll be able to squeegee out the whole window, so I'll hold it in place, do a nice hard press, and that film is in place. Side to side when the window's down, and when you roll the window up, you'll go down, other than the sides. Do one last press, front to back. Make sure we get as much water out from between the film and the glass as possible. Go down the sides with the easy reach. And then we'll push out the top edge with the gray lid coat card. The blue towel, you can use a microfiber towel, it doesn't have to be a blue huck. And the heat gun to seal up that top edge. No light gap at all. As you guys can see, you literally can't see the card, maybe a little sliver. Perfect fitment. Work out any little tiny imperfections. You're always gonna get a little dust speck here and there. As long as it's something that's workable, just heat it a little from the outside. Work it with the pink card from the inside. And that little speck will be gone. Roll the window up. Spray the bottom half. And we're gonna squeegee straight down. Down the sides. We'll shrink the finger that pops up in the center. A little bit of soapy water, gray lid coat card, heat gun. Get the gray lid coat card lubricated, and then we'll shrink. Being very careful not to burn the door panel. And then wiping the door panel down so it's not wet. So if you ever get a finger that pops up on the side, like this one right here, we'll heat this one from the outside, because you can't shrink the film sideways unless we plotted it or cut it that way. We'll heat it from the outside, come around the other side with the gray lid coat, just give it a nice solid push in, and then all the way down. That is sealed in place. Now before we go and put the bottom weather gasket or weather strip, whatever you want to call it, that inside strip back in, you want to make sure the bottom edge is completely sealed so that when you apply the gasket, it doesn't apply pressure to the film and cause any fingers to pop up. That's the last thing you want to have to deal with. Since that's why we take the panel off, so we don't have to deal with that with the gasket in place. So I'm just going to go over the front corner again with the Easy Reach at a slightly different angle. Trying to apply the pressure only on the point because this card can still scratch the film. So the least pressure or the least points you can place on the film as possible is the best way to go. Only get in there deep with the Easy Reach tool. All right. Give it one final press with the gray lid coat. And then we can go ahead and reinstall the gasket. And you can see a little finger popped up there. The finger popping up is good because we can just shrink it really quick. Push it out, and that will not come back up again. Wipe our panel down. Now the first step to reinstalling the weather stripping is pop the panel up and away. Release all the clips. Hold it in place with your knee. Place the front end first. Down with the back. All right, so once you get the gasket back into place, I'm actually going to roll the window down. This is why we really have to seal up the window good. And it makes it a lot easier to get this front area into place. You can see on the front here, this part of the door panel has to go in the front. There's a hard piece of plastic there, and you can't get it past this piece of metal unless you lay it underneath there first. It's a lot easier to have the window roll down. If you could do it with the window up, all power to you. But I like to just roll the window down, get my hand in there, get it in place so that it's set right. And then we'll take the lock pin, put it up through the hole, and line it up. It's a little tricky with this extra bracket in here. There we go. Make sure it's unlocked so the pin's all the way up. And then we can get the panel locked in place. So it's a little tricky with those extra sleeves on the door lock pin, but once you get it, just take your time. You'll get it in place nice. And we've got seated across the top really good. And now we can just line up the rest of the pins here or the clips and then smack it into place. And the fact that they changed those clips is a life changer for panel popping on BMWs, because there's one on the ground right here. Yesterday I did a BMW M550i, and good thing I have a whole bag of these clips. I literally replaced all of the clips on all of the door panels because they just break. So that's not the story on these, thank goodness. So once we have the panel back on, we can go ahead and put the speaker bezel back on first. What you do with this is, the way this one is made, it has a little, I guess you can call it a little tab here that goes into this groove. That has to slide in. That's not very like the 5 series or the 7 series. 7 series just pops away. So we have to slide this in from the front back. And we'll focus on these clips here, get them lined up, and push into place. Very simple. We have to kind of get it between the felt and the gasket here. Once it's in there, it should pretty much click into place, which it did. So as long as you're lined up between the felt and the rubber, if you had this away, you would see it. Once you have it lined up in there, you can just give it a nice solid push. And that's exactly how it lines up before I even touched it. So now we can go ahead and reinstall the 4 T15 Torx tips, 2 in the handle area, or the grip area, I should say. I would highly recommend a magnetic tip for this. But on the bottom ones, it's more exposed. All right, now to reinstall this trim on the handle grip here, you're gonna slide the back in, and you wanna line up, you'll see the clips that line up with these metal tabs. You wanna line those up before you go and smack it into place. All right. So once the back is all the way in flush, and we have the clips lined up, make sure our front's lined up. All right. So once you get that back in flush, you want to get the front in flush and smack it forward, and then you can smack the center of it, and it clips right into place really nice and tight. Now we can roll our window up. Now that is how you bottom load the front door windows on a 2020 BMW X4. This is an M competition, doesn't matter. All the X4s are the same. I'll see you guys in the next video. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you for watching.